Once we have a goal of becoming all that we can be, not all that we can do, but all that we can be, in other words, what we actually are, then in my experience, there's a process that begins, which is the orientation that any trigger that comes up, especially these subtle ones, like that happen perhaps many times a day. That's my experience. These subtle fears, especially if in sharing intimacy with someone, these things can come up, and it's not the honeymoon period anymore, and there's lots of subtle triggers that happen, like many times per day, in my experience. And for me, it's fear. This also depends on your Enneagram type. For me, it's fear, and like in a big way, life's about dissolving these triggers. There's different ways to say this. Life is about dissolving these triggers, expanding, expanding my identity. Because what triggers are is they're showing the boundaries of our identity, our false identity. Because our real identity is, depending on how you cut it, either non existent or like nothingness, or it's everything. They both work. And a trigger shows me where the boundary of my constructed identity is. And I didn't really construct it, it was through interaction with the world. It's not like it was consciously constructed, mostly at least. So it limits me because if I have a constructed identity that's a certain shape, then I'm going to have allergies to the world in different expressions. And I'm going to run up against the world, like running into a wall, where a situation with a person could flow smoothly. It is just not. And where I could have more energy, more life force, I just don't. And where I could accomplish whatever I'm choosing to try to accomplish, I just won't be able to. The love that I want to feel with others, I won't. Because having a limited constructed identity is a blockage to all these things, that these deep qualities that are valuable, these higher virtues. It's very helpful to recognize the nature of triggers and what they actually are, and once that's understood, then the game's on. Then in a way I never get totally fooled by triggers again. Even when it grips my nervous system and I merge with that part of my identity, and I'm not recognizing the opportunity to let the river of energy flow, the river of life flow, the situation flow, because it's threatening my identity. My identity and this situation happening can't exist together. So that's what's happening when we get triggered. Say I get triggered with someone I'm intimate with, and I say that because intimacy brings us to deeper layers of ourself, where we don't have as many defenses because people don't usually touch those areas. And so where life is showing us that vulnerability, and it's very uncomfortable. And so it's a big trigger. It's a trigger because we don't have defenses there. Defenses and that shell, our personality, generally keeps us from getting triggered. That's what strong personality is. Strong personality is one that's effective in navigating the world without getting triggered. The defenses keep it out of awareness. And in an intimate relationship, we don't have those defenses, and so it's very intense in these triggered times. The dog is. I have a doggy. It's messing with the camera. Come here, Bella. So I get triggered with an intimate partner, and what's happening is that situation, that's a real situation, and me in my limited identity can't exist simultaneously. And of course, that's an issue. And the solution is open up my identity. And that's what it feels like. It feels like my current personality is a container that can't hold this. This experience is transcending the edges of my container. And so if I want to be able to experience this with this person, my container has to change shape. I have to dissolve the boundaries of my container and let them open up. And I don't have to do this consciously. In a way, it happens. Or rather, I don't have to reform the container. That'll happen. I'm not going to accidentally dissolve my whole personality. It's not going to happen. So it's this phrase like, my personality container can't. It needs to expand to accommodate this situation in life. And once we have this orientation where we're not enforcing our personality on the world as much, then it's this feeling, this energy gets released. It's like floatingness in my belly for me. It's pleasurable, and it's also more boundaryless. So, triggers are an opportunity to expand our current limited sense of identity. And that's what this process looks like. In personality development terms, it happens. In spiral dynamics terms, it's happening in the yellow stage. In integral teal. And it's very juicy. It's less about the world. It's less about me. It's my, or it's less about my life. It's more about my identity itself. This is the deep moment-to-moment shadow work. When we get to a certain developmental stage, shadow work is life. So, wishing you all very well. Let me know how that lands. See you next time.